Good afternoon, everybody. Please, let's have our seats now and start. I think we've given enough opportunity for everybody to join us. Firstly, from my side, so long as Secretariat of the Labour Party, welcome to all of you who came. Thank you also for those of you who support our court application. You might have seen that we have a desk at the back at the next side of this same hall, where our legal people are seated and they can assist you if you want to commission your affidavits, etc. Also, I see we've got Nicole here. She can also be consulted, and Renee and Larry. They are all seated in here. We want to thank you really for coming. You will see that the media is not very present today. We are quite aware of that fact, and we also know why. We know that our case has been blacklisted from the beginning. Only when our case is in trouble, then you will hear the media. Then they will be very keen to invite us. So we've noted that, we've noted it, and we trust and we pray that justice will prevail eventually. And eventually they will be coming back to us, wanting to speak to us. Welcome to everybody. I'm going to ask all the parties to just introduce themselves. Maybe we can ask one spokesperson per party to introduce themselves. I want to start with the comrades who we first engaged about this particular press conference, which is Operation Dudula. I want to ask Commander Zandile just to introduce herself to you and greet you. Thank you, Commander.
Commanders, morning. My name is Zandile Dabula. I'm the president of Operation Dudula. Thank you so much for joining us today, and to the media that's here today, thank you. It is difficult for us to get coverage these days, SG. We are being sidelined, but we'll get to the bottom of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commander. Can we just move then, maybe to start with Akum next, and then we move all the way down? Thank you.
Salute all activists. My name is Moafrika Wamaila, an advocate by profession, the president of ACUM, Active African Christian United Movement. I have been behind Labour Party on this matter of taking IEC head on. And it's not shocking that the media is not here. It's not shocking that other parties are not here, because we know full well that this cause is for those who are not faint-hearted, for those who understand what does democracy mean and what does fairness stand for. We will continue fighting until the end comes. Thank you.
Thank you. Please continue.
Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, members of the media. My name is Tapelo Makhale. I am the Secretary General of the Democratic Union Party. The DUP, in short, we are in solidarity with the Labour Party of South Africa, seeing the injustice meted out by the justice system. As also we have a case by the lodged with the Constitutional Court since the 24th of March. We haven't heard anything, and by the way, it was an urgent application pertaining to the irregularity of the Electoral Amendment Act. Thank you very much.
My name is Libuso Mjapelo, the Deputy President of the Gap Fixers of South Africa. In our midst, I have with me my president here, Themba Buthelezi. Basically, the concept free and fair, it's a misnomer. Even a blind man can tell, because the IEC system was premeditated, hence the injustice. Thank you.
Thank you, comrades. Is there anybody, did we cover everybody? No. Yes, please.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, the media present here, and every other person not mentioned. This is Justice Molwabi from the United Christian Democratic Party. We are also joining hands with the Labour Party in the struggle to fairness. It's a shame for us that our IEC has cost us this much as we are speaking today, to have a media conference to tell the people how unfair the justice system of the IEC is, because we wrote a letter to them directly and they responded by saying it is referred to the relevant department, and they never replied thereafter. Today, we are sitting here to try and show the world that South Africa's democracy has not ripened as it should have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I almost forgot to introduce also my fellow interim executive member, Comrade Joseph Matunjwa. Sir, I don't know if you also want to greet the people.
Thank you very much. I greet you all in the name of the revolution. Indeed, we will face this because we are fighting a very structural system that is entrenched, that is supposed to deny the black child the future. So therefore, you must know that revolution was never televised. So all these things are controlled by the funders of those people who are filling up the stadiums. We need to question, where do they get the money? Because if they do have money, why we are sitting at 32% of unemployment? Why we are still a most unequal society in the world? Where this money is coming from? Who are funding them in order to perpetuate the inequality of this country? But we will continue. We are determined. We know where we are going. The masses are behind us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. My job is just to quickly brief you on the background of this matter, that everybody's on the same page. The first thing I think that's important, especially to members of the media, to note is where we come from. The main point why all of us are here today and why we have a constitutional court challenge is because the online portal of the IEC malfunctioned, dreadfully so. You would have seen in our court papers that I hope you've had your eyes on. Members of the media, I know my comrades have seen those court papers, that we go at great lengths to explain exactly how this online portal of the IEC malfunctioned. We first, like any good political party, tried our best to upload everything. We couldn't get finished with our supporting documents, even though we, as I know many of you, were completely ready. We had enough signatures, we had our candidates lists, everything, but the system kept on crashing, specifically on the 8th. So we couldn't upload all our documents, and thus we were disqualified from the election, which is why we are not currently on the voters' roll, on the ballot. So, what did we do? We started immediately to apply to the Electoral Court on an urgent basis. We consulted our attorneys, and on the 12th of March, which was 3 days after the closing of the process, the online process, we submitted our application to the Electoral Court, but only for us to be delayed for more than a month in this urgent application. Eventually, only on the 15th of April, you can make your calculations, that's the other day, we got our judgment. The judgment, in short, 2 of the 5 judges were completely with us. We were very encouraged by them. They basically repeated all the points raised by our senior counsel, Advocate Hopkins. And, but, as you know, there are 5 judges. The other 3 didn't find for us. All kinds of silly arguments of the IEC that they bought into, and therefore the application was dismissed, luckily without costs to anybody. We then had no other option, and it's important for me to stress this to everybody, that the relief we sought initially was to be given access to the system to upload our documents, to finish uploading our documents. However, the moment they were able, I would say intentionally, to drag this process for more than a month, we had passed sufficient milestones in the electoral timetable to make our relief request moot. Now, moot, for those of us who don't know the term, a similar term would be academic. It means that even if we win the case, they can't give us what we want because, as the proverbial bus has left the station. So we then only had one option left available to us, and our senior counsel, Advocate Christopher Loxton, also advised us that let's go to the Constitutional Court, but not as an appeal, because an appeal would be a bit of an issue because of the mootness of that relief. Let's make a fresh application in terms of the direct access route. Now, direct access for laypersons like myself and yourselves means that the court applies its mind whether the matter is of sufficient public interest, and then it decides to hear it or not. So our prayer currently is that yes, it will be heard. The answering affidavit deadline is tomorrow the 26th of April. The respondents must come back to us. The respondents, just for the record, are respondent number 1 is the IEC, obviously. Respondent number 2 is the President of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. And respondents number 3 and further are all of these political parties that are registered. Why are they respondents? For those of us who don't know, don't have legal knowledge, they must be, because it affects them. And that's why we've repeatedly asked all of you, I know those of you who are here have already done it, but please spread the word that we need all of these parties, when they do their answering affidavits, to support us, obviously not to oppose us. We believe that most parties will support us. Only some parties that have a vested interest in exclusion of us and us gathering more votes are the ones that will oppose us. In summary, our prayer is twofold. It's a simple prayer. The prayer is for the election timetable to be set aside. Thereby, by it being set aside, kicks in Section 49 of the Constitution of South Africa, which then says that the president, the state president must, and I underline the word must, if it is set aside, promulgate a new election date, which must take place not more than 90 days after the date on which the court set aside the previous date. So, I think that is the most important point. The second important point, and I know our legal team is sitting there at the back, but at last count, we had a total of 37 parties that are supporting our application, which I think is not a landmark case, it's a monumental case. So this case, I mark my words today to all of you, gentlemen and ladies, that will be a case that will be referred to for many years to come, this particular case. Even if we are not successful, it will be a very important case in the history of South Africa, and it has never been more important than currently in our country. We are deeply concerned about the fact that this election will not be free and fair. And I think that should be said by all of us. And the reason for it not being free and fair is because of the exclusion of so many parties. And as we've argued in our papers, it's a lot to do about the digital divide. Now, the digital divide, for those of us who don't know, is that many of us didn't have the opportunity to be educated in IT as others of us. Now, it doesn't take a genius to say that most often the people who were disadvantaged by this is also black people, poor people, people who didn't have access to the same education system are now being disadvantaged by the IEC, forcing us to use this glitchy, let me call it glitchy, let me call it malfunctioning, online portal of theirs. So there's a big issue here, comrades, and I want to say comrades, of social justice. This is social justice, a lack of social justice. So let's call it social injustice that is happening here. We are already talking amongst our team of not stopping at this case. Even if this case is successful, even if it is not, we might consider, I've given instruction to our legal team, to write a letter to international bodies to make a complaint against the IEC for this behavior. It's undemocratic behavior that they are conducting. They are deliberately excluding, by means of cumbersome administrative systems, many new parties. For 5 years, comrades, let's remember, it's for 5 years that we will not be able to make a difference in this country. Now, I want to ask you, please, to first ask questions from the floor if you have them, and then afterwards there will be opportunities for you to have individual interviews with the leaders. So let's start with questions. Perhaps if you have a question, just raise your hand. I will point to you, and then you just announce your name and where you are from, which media house, or even which organization. If you have any further questions, please feel free now. Yes, madam, your name, please.
It's fine. Good afternoon. My name is Silokela Mulamudi from Hope Alive Online Radio. Slightly touched when I heard you, Krista, say that there's no media present. We're not sidelining anybody. But I do have a couple of questions. The first question would be, is the Labour Party open to quote unquote lending its vote to other political parties that are part of the 52 that is going to be on the ballot? You would have seen yesterday that the IEC hosted, yesterday or the day before, the IEC hosted all political parties to sign a code of conduct, which basically means that, you know, it's all hands on deck for the 29th of May. So that's my first question. And my second question is, would it not be better then, considering the status of the case right now, for the Labour Party to prepare for the 2029 elections than to seemingly derail the upcoming elections on the 29th of May? I'll stop there for now.
Thank you so much. I would just want to check whether some of the other leaders want to answer this. Can you do it, please, sir?
Can I please come in answering especially the question of lending votes to other parties? There is no party that campaigns and builds structures, getting burned by the sun, running up and down in this country to lend votes to other parties. The reason why each and every party exists is because it wants to make the difference in our country. And we want to participate in the election, contest the elections, be in the ballot. So now, lending votes to other parties is a question of saying, will that party policy serve the policy that your party is founded upon? Definitely it will not be. So that's why every party is working hard to be part of the elections. And equally so, we cannot afford at this stage to begin to say when Labour Party, not singling out Labour Party, because it's not only Labour Party, even though it's leading this legal action, we cannot all lead it. There must be one chorus leader in a choir, right? Labour Party is a chorus leader in this case. It does not necessarily mean that is derailing the elections. They are not derailing the elections. They are defending the democracy. If I will be a president of South Africa, I have been elected while other parties are sidelined or excluded, I will question my own presidency to say, if they were there, was I going to be a president still? It means that I have won unfairly. So for now, all these parties, especially those that are in parliament, I think there are 13 or so, they must be worried about themselves not challenging the system of IEC, excluding the new parties. Because if they are going to return back to parliament, simply because Labour Party, ACUM, Operation Dudula, all these other movements are excluded, then they must question their strength. If you are fair, the only fair win is the one that will include everyone, give everybody a fair opportunity to contest. So for now, there is nothing that is being derailed. It's only a matter of defending our democracy. Fair opportunity for everybody. We need this opportunity as political parties to contest. Because if we don't contest now, we're going to wait until 2029. You know how far that is? Thousands will be born, thousands will die. Many wrong things will happen. Looting will go beyond billions in that 5 years. Trillions. We'll be waiting for that. The question is, we're going to wait until when? I can give you a simple history of ACUM. We have been on the run for past 4 years since lockdown, starting as pastors against church closure. We can't be running for all these 4 years just for us to say we lend the votes to other parties. We must be given a chance to be. And why are we not part? It's not because we are negligent or we are lazy or we can't meet requirements. It's simply because IEC introduced a system that is not working for all the parties. That was malfunctioning. So our democracy that people died for, our democracy that was earned, people were in prison for, some went exile, was depending on a portal. That is malfunctioning. Do you know what does that mean? It means our democracy is cheap. If a portal is not working, then democracy is disadvantaged. That's where we are. Now, I support the Labour Party. I'm in 101% support. Actually, when they want any support, they know we are the first to send our confirmatory affidavit. And I'm the one who's calling a comrade Van Rensburg every day, irritating him. How far? Even the attorney will tell you. I call him. We need to know. I tell Maduna, phone them. We want to know how far. Why? Because we know this battle is not to derail anything. It's to align our democracy to be a true definition of democracy that is inclusive and equal to all. Thank you.
This is Themba Aviros from Gap Fixers of South Africa. We are in solidarity with the Labour Party. In fact, we are in a very, very sad situation where we made our efforts to do almost everything that was required by IEC. At the end of the day, then we are in this situation. So, in my broad word, I say, let us not allow IEC to dictate on us, because if you allow that, this will continue. Remember, this is not the last elections. We are going to, on 2026. What's going to happen? They will always make some a threshold to make sure that we don't participate in the election. So let us fight now so that, we'll avoid the dictatorship of the IEC. I close.
Thank you. Thank you. Maybe let me just come in on that last question that you were asking about derailing. I think it's an important point. What we did is we considered, even in our court papers, if you have a copy, go to paragraph 64 of our founding affidavit, where we make a very important comparative exercise. Remember, the Constitutional Court, those judges, their overarching aim is to look at whether there has been injustice, and then in metering out corrective justice, they look at whether there will be prejudice suffered by any of their parties. Now, parties meaning all of those involved. So what we did is we did a careful analysis of who would be disadvantaged if the elections are postponed, and who would be disadvantaged currently if the elections are not being postponed. And if you analyze even for yourself, I dare you, media, if you analyze it for yourself, you will see that the prejudice faced by the public for the elections being delayed for 90 days, for that matter, is almost zero. There's almost no prejudice to them, especially if we can then guarantee that these elections are free and fair. However, the prejudice faced if the elections are not postponed, and all 38 parties that we refer to being excluded from these elections, not for any old reason, not for not paying, not for not doing the normal stuff, due to a malfunctioning internet portal, then surely that prejudice farly outweighs any other prejudice faced by the country. I hope I've answered you.
Good afternoon to everyone present. I am Ulamile Mia from YFM News. I just have two questions. So the first question is, what makes the party believe that the Constitutional Court will postpone or extend such a monumental election with the country set to take to the polls in less than 6 weeks? And then the second question is, should the case be unsuccessful, what would the party like for international bodies to do, or how would they like to intervene? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let me kick off. I hope my other fellow Labour Party comrades will also mention or come in. But let me start by saying the simple reason is quite clear and crisp, and that is that the court will have no choice than to do it. We hope so. We hope that our case is so strong. Remember, our case has two legs. Now, it's important to remember. The one leg is the issue of the malfunctioning portal and all the problems thereof that were in our founding affidavits to the High Court, to the Electoral Court as well, and we've summarized them in these founding papers. But the second leg, don't forget it, is a procedural one, meaning that the delay, the unnecessarily, and we would say tactical, delay by the IEC and the Electoral Court for more than a month in giving us a chance to finish. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to know that if they heard us within 2 or 3 days, it would have been possible to say, guys, come, 48 hours, upload your stuff. And they didn't do that. And for that reason, we believe our prospects are extremely good. The Constitutional Court, as the apex court of this country, does not look kindly upon courts and the justice system acting in that fashion. And we believe and we trust and we pray that this will become evident, and for that reason, and as well as the argument earlier about prejudice, we believe that our prospects are extremely strong. Your second question, can you perhaps just repeat it again, please?
You earlier mentioned that you wanted international bodies to intervene in this case. I'm asking, should your case be unsuccessful at the Constitutional Court, how would you like for international bodies to intervene?
I think I speak under correction because my leadership, we haven't really discussed this matter in detail, but if I can shoot from the hip, I would say that we will write those letters in any event, even if we are successful. It's not an appeal process. It's a genuine concern we have in South Africa currently, is that the IEC has been discredited in many occasions. I mean, all of us have seen on the media the issue with MK, the issue with other parties, the lists being leaked. It doesn't take a genius to see that this IEC needs to be investigated. And frankly, they need to change. And we believe that international best practice, international standards, would be a very good objective way to measure them and to find what is wrong with them and to address what is wrong with them.
In actual fact, it's so much disappointing when people, they speak about Pan-Africanism, but we don't have best system that relate or reflect Pan-Africanism. We always have to refer to Europe for best practice. That shows how far we are. Thank you.
But I think the other important thing is that all elections are monitored by international bodies. And it is important that you put that on record, that when international bodies are here to come and monitor elections, they must know there are more than 37 parties that are aggrieved. So for them to get to a place or a point where they can declare elections free and fair as international bodies, when there are 37 organizations and parties that are aggrieved, this would question their own integrity. As international bodies, how do you declare the elections free and fair when it is on record that so many parties are prejudiced? Number two, you must see that the IEC is gone out of, it actually went out of its way to defend a system that was outsourced to a private company. A system that has, it can't only be you who's right. Even if we are not techie savvy, we can't all be stupid. Something must be wrong with the system. And all of the parties that are sitting here, all of them will tell you that we have made a call, we've sent an email, we've done this to the IEC. What the courts and anybody is not saying is nobody is holding the IEC responsible for not returning the calls. Because if you own the system, the responsibility is with you when a matter is escalated. And it's a simple thing. That is, it's your system, you are sitting with engineers, the responsibility is with you that anybody who is unable to do anything or perform anything on the portal, you are the only people who are qualified to attend to their query. And your failure to attend to their query should show you that the problem is not necessarily also with the system alone, but the problem is with you and your capacity as the IEC to respond to anybody who encountered a problem. And I think we have not raised this issue sharply enough to say that all of us have got one thing in common, and that is it doesn't matter what the glitch was, all of us reached out to the IEC. The one thing that the IEC did not do is to respond and come back. Now we're sitting here today, the system has not only the 37 parties, but every single South African who intended to vote for these parties. Yeah. Every single South African who had an intention to vote for us. So we are sitting here, that's why this whole thing should not only be seen as the parties that are excluded, it should be seen in the context of the legitimacy of the government, the seventh administration. It is a big constitutional issue, and it should not be treated light. And we're seeing that the IEC is very casual about it. It's not that. It is a serious matter. It's a serious matter of life and death, and it needs to be treated as such. Money.
Thank you, comrade. Any further questions?
So I have got a follow-up question, just for clarity. Does it mean that all the parties that are present here today, including the other 30-something that is in support of the Labour Party's case, doubt the IEC's credibility? And this is you openly questioning the IEC's credibility, because we are well aware of the fact that it's a Chapter 9 institution that is supposed to be neutral, but your utterances thus far have said otherwise. That's my first question. The second question is this another moonshot pact that the public is seeing here today? Is this an alliance? Is there any fear from the parties present and the others that are supporting that you might come across as disgruntled, disgruntled parties that are just throwing their toys out of the court? Those are the two questions for now. Also, the final question, does this mean you will encourage your members to not vote should the judgment not go your way? Ntate Justice.
Thank you very much. To start with, I don't know whether you listened to other news very carefully. You are talking about the status that we give to the IEC It is not for us to give it status, but it is for them to reflect their content, and which they are failing in this instance. They are failing to respond as they should have responded. They are failing to show people that they are not one-sided. If you talk about one-sided, I don't know whether you noted that MK's case came after the Labour Party's case and was responded to before the Labour Party's case was responded to. And therefore, it's also a reflection of what is happening in South Africa. If you listened to some of the people who broke away from the ruling party, they mentioned that they want to show the IEC that there were mistakes, and they are not going to allow it to repeat those mistakes. When they were in, they ignored those mistakes. Now, when they are out, they are clear that we are going to show the IEC. And what did the IEC do? Before the elections, they actually started showing that color which other people were fearing. And therefore, it is time for us to teach the IEC that they are one of the best bodies that need to help South Africa, to help elections to become free and fair. They are supposed to apply by doing the correct thing to their dignity, to show the world that South Africa is advanced. South Africa has had a system which the world can copy from, but they have failed to do that.
By the same token also, looking at the behavior of the IEC, even a blind man can tell that the IEC is nothing else but just a cohort of deployees of a particular organization with the sole purpose to serve the agenda of that particular organization. By the same token also, the constituencies of the political parties that are lying in the ledge will be rendered, politically homeless, courtesy of the IEC. And you also spoke about the premature, maybe political matrimony of this party seated here. We haven't yet engaged in that, except for the fact that we are actually experiencing the same concerns and frustrations that emanate from the IEC. And for that reason, we'll fight collectively. Thank you.
I think there is one question that is not answered of saying, are we going to encourage our members not to vote? That will be very dangerous for our democracy, for us to stand and say, we're not going to vote, don't vote, whereas we're telling people, vote for us. Actually, that's being a hypocrite on its own. Should the 29th arrive and we have not found a solution, definitely every party will have a stand. But the stand of ACUM will be, we'll find a party that we can support, that has the policies that gels with us similarly or perhaps in the same direction. You understand? And, I'm worried. There is no break ahead truth in our answering questions here. I just want us to come and tell the truth as it is. The president of this country, Cyril Ramaphosa, said it clear in one of his speeches, I forgot the date. He said, Amapati amashang zodilisha now. He said that. There is a video clip that I saw is making rounds. I will deal with new parties, of which, of course, he did, using the IEC. He did, using the IEC. And the IEC itself, being Chapter 9 institution, allowed itself to be used. How so? Number one, they brought cumbersome requirements, as Comrade Van Rensburg said of Labour Party. Number two, they made time to be so minimal, introducing the portal 8 days before the closing date. Immediately after that, saying without any induction, without any preparation to say this is how you're going to load. They mentioned it 30 days before, introduced it 8 days before closing date, then they said all of you bring your stuff in. Trust me, we have met all the requirements they want. The only problem that was there is that their system on the other end was not functional, whereas this side you are having things that they want to load in order for us to qualify, of which we're not even supposed to comply with that in the first place. If you want to contest in a democratic country, you must contest without any difficulty. But nonetheless, we complied, simply because we didn't want to be labeled as unruly. But their system failed us. That's why we came out and said, no, let's fight. Now, saying, is this a pact or an alliance or what? Trust me, a moon pact or any other pact, they are brought together by their comfort. But with us, is a cry of the sufferings. We are brought together by our problems. That's why we are here fighting together. I always wanted to meet Operation Dudula, but it was difficult. I always wanted to meet Baba Matunja, but it was difficult. During the time they wanted to deregister AMKU, but it was difficult. But nonetheless, we had to meet because the problems have brought us here. So we are not an alliance, but we have become allies in this struggle of wanting democracy to be defended. And Section 9 institutions must be tested by the court. That's why we are going to Constitutional Court. You know why he says this is one of the biggest, he didn't say monumental. That's very interesting. Monumental case. You know why he says that? Simply because for the first time, the Constitutional Court will be forced to look at the rights as opposed to the national program. That has got the interest of the few and the interest of the few being jeopardized at the same time. I guess if you understand what I'm saying. Now we want to see if the Constitutional Court, it is really for the Constitution or it is only for those who are comfortably sitting in their corner having everything sorted. That's why this case is so important for us.
Basically, thank you so much, Leader. At the same time, it's of essence that one should look at it from a broader peer view. Who is the IEC? Who has actually deployed those people for into the IEC seats? For what purpose? You know, that raises a question. And I should think even a blind man can extrapolate that what is happening. Thank you.
Thank you, comrade.
Can I just go
Please
in?
proceed, Commander.
Comrade, I think we really need to get that clip and make it viral, because that is one of the proof that we can have that we are being sidelined on purpose. Now, this has been done on purpose, and I'm worried when we talk about us derailing the elections, but no one is talking about us being derailed from qualifying with the IEC. So I'm going to tell you what happened with Operation Dudula and how we are being derailed till date. We still don't have the reasons till date why of the judgment. Judgment came out, I think, a week and a half. On the 15th, we still don't have reasons, even today. So we can't even file with the Constitutional Court because we don't have reasons. So that's another derail. We are being derailed from filing with the Constitutional Court. So on the 8th of March, there was a closing date for all of us to comply with the IEC. We've got all the signatures. We met all the requirements. We paid everything that was due to the IEC. But the system failed all of us sitting here. And we all tried to reach to the IEC. We phoned IEC an hour before the system closed to say that we are experiencing a problem, but no one came back to us. All they could say was, somebody will be in contact with you soon. And no one contacted us. But 20 minutes after 4 o'clock, we then decided that, you know what, we can see there's a foul that's being played here. We decided to take a screenshot of the system failure, and we pushed the email to IEC and said, this is the problem that we are experiencing. You promised to call us, and nobody has contacted us. but no one came back to us. Only one official came back to us and said, I don't know what you're talking about. And they left it there. And 6 minutes to 5 o'clock, we then decided that we're going to send an email with a list of our national, because we're being excluded from the national ballot, because they claim that we did not submit, we did not upload our national list on the portal, but we couldn't. But the saddest thing is that they will not even tell people that we tried. All they could say is that we did not meet their requirements, but we tried, but they failed us. We then pushed an email as proof to also cover our backs, because we know that it would have bitten us, to cover ourselves, to say that we are giving you a list of our candidates. Please do it on your side, because we can't do it on our side. And we still did not get any response. You know what happened? They only took our calls, I think 10 minutes after cut-off time. Arrogantly so, we were told that there's nothing we can do, the system is closed. And we asked that we seek for help, because you're the master of the system. I mean, we were only trained for a couple of days to work on the system, but they are the gurus of their own system. They know better. But this also tells us that even their own personnel, they don't know the system, because they couldn't assist. They did not know what the error was about, so they couldn't help us. So it means they too are not trained well to work on the system. That's another point. But then 10 minutes later, we were told that it's unfortunate the system is closed. It means we did not qualify for the national ballot, but somebody will look into our matter, because we had reported it. On Monday morning, we decided to go to IEC. We were blocked from seeing the consultants. We were told that we cannot see anybody, but definitely someone will call us by Wednesday. We waited. We've waited till the 26th. On the 26th, when the national list, actually when the candidate lists was supposed to be published. And then we noticed that we're not getting any response from the IEC. Let's go to them. We went to their offices. Then only we were told that we have been disqualified on the national ballot. There was no, I don't know if anybody in this room has received any formal disqualification from the IEC. None of us has received any disqualification. No one told us that we've been disqualified. The only time you knew that you've been disqualified is if you haven't seen your candidates on those lists. That's not professional. The IEC would have at least sent us a formal letter to say that you've been disqualified with such reasons. Till date, we haven't received any. But then we thought that they're working on our matter because their system failed on their side. We gave them time. They kept promising that they'll come back to us, and nothing happened. So there's no justice there. There's no fairness. They're claiming to be running fair and free elections. There's nothing like that. And if they really want to make sure that they're going to deal with us, the small Anyana parties, we will show them that we're not just small parties. We are going to fight this till the last bit, because we've done everything. We've qualified, we paid, we've been on the ground. Operation Dudula has been on the ground for 3.5 years. How do I just give my vote to somebody else that have never worked for it? How do I give my vote to another party that doesn't deserve it? I've got my own reasons why we have Operation Dudula and what we stand for. The person that Operation Dudula members are supposed to give their votes for, it means we're throwing them into a deep end. They are forced to vote for somebody that they don't want. We don't want that. We have freedom of choice. Why are we limiting? Why is the IEC limiting us from doing so? Electoral court is not fair at all. They gave us a combined judgment. I've never seen such. Our merits of our cases are all different. Labour Party's case is different. Our case is different. Our party is different, but they give us a combined judgment. That's not fair at all. So we're going to fight this till the last bit. Thank you.
And can I add on this quickly? IEC is very much, it's not fair. I'll show you this. In the local elections, last local elections, ANC did not submit for some words. Remember that? They opened a portal.
And
Extended, because ANC did not support. Yeah, no, I have that record, it's there. ANC did not support for Mafikeng municipality, Tabazimbi. They did not support for Mkondo municipality in Mpumalanga. They extended, because it's the ANC. And you remember they came with a reason why they're extending. Now, this time, other parties have not submitted because of the IEC system is failing. That time, there was no IEC system. They were just submitting by hand. Their cars stuck on the road and what they extended. But this time, because it's not them, they can't extend. And also, I want to show you that IEC is not qualifying to be Chapter 9 institution. Why after Comrade Jacob Zuma has won a case, they go to appeal it? Because theirs was supposed to go to court to ask a court, what's your opinion about this? If the court makes a ruling, they must accept that and move forward. Why are they appealing? They show you that they have an agenda they are running. When you appeal, it shows that you are fighting for something specifically. Why are you fighting? Because you're supposed to bring an application, court, test this, tell us what are you saying about this. Then the court says this man can stand. After they appeal it, it means they don't want him to stand. So where is the independence on that? So in essence, we don't have IEC, we have REC, Ramaphosa Electoral Commission. That's Ramaphosa's institution. And we must label it as that. The day we go to court, in constitutional court, I encourage every party, we must go there in numbers. We must go there in numbers and sing. We don't even have to be inside. The lawyers will do the work there. I'm not coming as a lawyer, I'm coming as a politician. And also, we need to have a huge protest. We can attract a mainstream media when we're in this hotel room. We must have a protest to that Smolanyana office there in IEC office. Make sure there to Centurion, we must go to Centurion so that media can come and we tell them and we expose them. Because this is not fair. We need fairness. That's it.
What we need not to forget as fellow South Africans that we are democratically colonized and that they will defend the system at all cost. As for them, seeing these parties joining hands together, it's a threat to them. You cannot be in the country where its sovereignty has been compromised in such a manner, and the government is just quiet. Where is the future of our children? We are more like foreigners in our own country of birth. And the government is quiet about it. 72 people are murdered in South Africa every day. How many women are being raped in South Africa? You will never hear the state president calling any state of emergency. But when his handlers called him with this fake COVID, he was able to shut down everything that has collapsed the economy of the country, which cannot even today recover, in the expense of the foreign interest. So what about us? If we don't stand up for our children, for our country, who will ever come forth and fight for our children? This is not because we like to form these parties. We could see clearly that all the legislation, all the laws of the country is no longer responsive to the challenges that we are facing today. They are protecting the interest of those that are funding them to fill up those stadiums in the expense of the future of the black child. So therefore, if they do care, why do we have 32% of unemployment in this country? The violence is so rampant in this country. We are rated amongst the 10 top countries in the world of being unsafe, but there is no one who's willing to address this. The unemployment that we are facing is a self-inflicted because the system protects it. Everything that we eat, everything that we wear is coming from foreign countries. So therefore, we have to change the status quo. It will take us, not any other person. We are the one who are feeling the pinch and the future of our children. Thank you.
maybe as we sort of gravitating towards the closure, there was an interesting question that was asked. Does this represent a pact or a potential for that matter? Don't rule it out. Don't rule it out. When people are aggrieved, we now have something that brings us together. We now have something that brings us together. And if the people of South Africa and justice towards the people of South Africa is what we're fighting for, working together should not be precluded or excluded from the thinking. It must just be on record because the Constitutional Court is going to determine what's going to happen. But if we don't succeed there, we're definitely going to come back around the table. And we're going to take it to the streets, but we're going to also sit around the boardroom. We're going to talk about what do we do next. And what we're going to be doing next, we're going to be doing it together. It must be known as to what the character of that relationship would look like. That cannot be determined. By doing this, today, we are joining hands together to fight for fairness, for democracy that people died for 30 years or so, and many years more before 30 years ago. So this is something very important. I just want to conclude by saying, as Operation Dudula, we know, and we're very convinced that the IEC is another political party contesting elections. The IEC got a mandate that we are going to deal with new parties. Got that from the chief. And the IEC became the implementing agency of that decision. It must be noted. Secondly, we are Operation Dudula. We are Operation Dudula. We don't take anything lying down. We are not going to take this lying down. We joined the pact here because we believe that this is a just cause. But we are also going to prove to the people of South Africa and the Constitutional Court that the agenda of the IEC of excluding smaller parties was very what they wanted to achieve. With that, we're going to prove. And I don't know why the president did not say it, but I will take cue from her. We're going to show that we even have recordings that in some cases they avoided calls. It's on record. They avoided calls when parties called and wanted to raise issues with them. It's on record. We are transcribing it. We'll make it part of us. So you are deliberately avoiding calls so that those that are seeking help from you do not get help. And that is the prejudice that we're talking about. And we're not going to sit down until the people of South Africa finds help. And yes, we're going to take it internationally. It's not something that you need to be shy about. Let's make the international community know, especially those that have taken keen interest in monitoring elections here. Before you go into these elections, you must know that the terrain is not leveled. Just before the 29th, you must already know that we have parties and people of South Africa that are saying, you are already excluding us from the play. And that it's an important thing, because after that, then you need to tell us, if you knew before elections that there was unfairness, tell us that where did you get the fairness from after elections? Because that you can't. So we're going into this knowing that it's like black and white, that we must all be equal. But equal when others have had 30 years or more of time to amass wealth. And then on the last day you say that we must be equal when others are already ahead of you. Absolute rubbish. Morning.
I wanted to raise an apology for myself. I'm having a court case that I must be part of now, 2 o'clock. It's virtual at Johannesburg High Court
Oh, thank
representing
you.
the Rubber Ridge community. So when you see me standing up now, don't say I'm running away.
Thank you,
Yeah,
comrade.
so our leader secretary of our movement will come and continue with this. Thank you.
Thank you, comrade. Take care.
You know, also,
I-
comrade, we
Yes.
need to remember this word called democracy. It's a word that was coined by the Greek philosophers to control humanity. It's got nothing to do with your future or your existence. It's to be controlled by the few. So therefore, we mustn't just be taken for the right to think the word democracy is to serve your interests. No ways. It's a perpetual colonization by the few and those who are handling those are in power. The power belongs to the people. We have to claim our dignity back. We were not born to be ruled by certain people. We were all born equal. So therefore, let's use our power to reclaim our position and our existence. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I'm going to ask Mr. Mpahlele of the Labour Party to do a vote of thanks. After that, the journalists who want to have an interview, I believe also Mr. Temba at the back would want to do some interviews with you as individuals. Please stay on hand. Otherwise, you'll see there will be a light lunch served outside before I hand over to Mr. Mpahlele.
Thank you, Comrade Krista. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank all of you who made this meeting possible without any order of preference. UCDP, Operation Dudula, and ACUM, and gap fixers. I think you need to fix this gap. There's a huge gap that exists between us and the IEC. We need to fix it. And our legal team there at the back, the media that is here, and all my dear comrades who are here, we really thank you. This meeting has come to an end. Thank you.